But if those people paid me a reasonable amount every month, I mean, if they're making thousands and thousands of dollars a month as they're claiming, okay, then they could probably shell over like, $100 a month. So if there's 10, 20 people doing that,
And right there, Phil just shot himself in the foot by just saying, "Oh, they could easily fork over $100 a month." And so right there, again, if we were going to take this seriously as, like Phil possibly suing them in the future, this would easily bury him. Because this could easily show what Phil thinks is reasonable compensation. And this is the kind of thing that could easily be used to convince a judge or a jury that if Phil tried to sue them for like a crazy amount of money, that only like $100 a month or $1,200 a year, that's like that's what Phil considered to be the total damages of this copyright issue.
you understand? So all of this is now being tracked day by day, hour by hour, and all this evidence will be used in the future.
But why don't you use it now, Phil? Why don't you find the people who are doing it and gather the evidence and then send it to YouTube? So you don't have to sue anybody. You can just issue takedown notices and boom, there you go.
This is not begging. This is called self-employment, you incredible moron. I have my own company that's legally registered. I pay taxes. I do everything like anyone who has their own company.
All right, here's one clip literally from just 2 months ago. Yeah, you tell me if this sounds like a good, successful businessman who's doing well in his life.
Basically, people are all using their channel points to laugh at the fact that we got no support tonight. And that's it. So, not looking too good, guys.
Welcome back, guys. And we're going to do some current events today. Because in the past few days, DarkSFL has come up with a harebrained scheme. Another get-rich-quick plan to try and get money out of his haters. And this time he's been decided to particularly target those he thinks are a prime target because of copyright infringement. And that is those who are he considers to be the straight-up restreamers. We're talking people like Dark Days Mirror, Raw Phil, and to a small extent you could include people like Almighty Tevin, Meerkat, etc. And that's the main target he's going after. And he's going to try to use coming up with some kind of licensing scheme to try and get them to pay a monthly or an annual fee to him in order to get permission to quote unquote steal his content, as he says. And to fully explain to get into the nitty gritty details about it, we'll hear Phil explain it.
Interestingly enough, I think that it's a joke, but I had a few people contact me via DMs and emails yesterday asking me, so what is the deal with obtaining a license to restream me officially? Now, I think that these people are not serious, and here's why. I got like 5 or 6 of these messages. Not a single person said, here's my YouTube channel. Here's my Twitch channel. I do restream you regularly, and I don't want to get into trouble. Instead, they were just like, so what's the deal with the license? Very professional. So what I'm going to do, I might do this shortly, actually set up an official way that people who are interested can contact me and pay me a fee to obtain a legal license to restream me for daily content. Then that way in the future, if and when I do exercise my right to have legal litigation against those who steal my content illegally on a daily basis, those people who purchased the license would be immune because they've been given permission to use my content. So I need to work on that because to be honest, I didn't think that anyone was going to care, but a bunch of people did contact me. But again, I don't think that they're real. I think that they're just like, people messing around because no one said, hey, so by the way, I am so-and-so who you probably know. I'm one of your detractors and I restream your content daily. But actually, I think it's fair that I would pay you a fee to do it because I make a lot of money doing it. So what's the deal with that? Like no one actually reached out to me like that. Instead, it was just like, hey, so how do I do it? Like, what? No. Because to be honest, to officially grant any license, I would have to know that information. I'd have to know your name. I'd have to know your channel. I'd have to know all your legal information to be sure that all your bases are covered. To be fair, here's what it would be. All right. It would probably be a monthly or an annual fee. All right. Just like any other service. You pay a flat rate monthly or maybe a discount if you do it annually. All right. And all it is a fee that you pay, just like any other subscription service. And you will get official permission legally. There'll be like a contract written up that says you can now live restream my content and make your own content out of it. You have legal permission to do so. And that it would say, I would, via this contract, completely relinquish any legal rights to go after someone who purchases that agreement. Because think of it this way. Right now, there's probably what, 20, 30 people who are doing this. Out of that, maybe 10 actually are making a living doing it, right?
Nope, it's not 20, 30 people. Like maximum is going to be like 5 or 6 people. That's about it. So, I mean, the pool of people who are actually doing what is, in Phil's interpretation, is flat out stealing, which his definition is that you're just doing a restream, a straight up restream with nothing transformative about it. And so that excludes, by his definition, people who are doing like reaction content to his restreams, especially because a lot of that reaction content usually is not happening in real time, or is happening like maybe like shortly after his stream is on, and then they're just reacting to a lot of his videos. But we're talking about, if we're just talking right here, right now, we're just talking about people who are just doing a straight copy and paste of his live stream while they're just restreaming his stream while he's still live streaming. I know it's a wordy way to put it, but that's the best way I could describe it. Then he only has like a small pool, like maybe 5 or 6 people who are actually able to generate a decent amount of money off this. They're talking Tevin, they're talking Rawfield, Dark Dave's Mirror, King Jad. You could make a case that he could fall in that category too. Maybe like 1 or 2 others, and that's about it. And again, I think like at least a couple of those people, they don't live in the United States. So trying to get an international lawsuit going on, or something as tiny as like a YouTuber possibly facing a copyright issue, yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, Phil's nonsense and his delusions continue. Let's keep going.
But if those people paid me a reasonable amount every month, I mean, if they're making thousands and thousands of dollars a month as they're claiming, okay, then they could probably shell over like, $100 a month. So if there's 10, 20 people doing that,
And right there, Phil just shot himself in the foot by just saying, "Oh, they could easily fork over $100 a month." And so right there, again, if we were going to take this seriously as, like Phil possibly suing them in the future, this would easily bury him, because this could easily show what Phil thinks is reasonable compensation. And this is the kind of thing that could easily be used to convince a judge or a jury that if Phil tried to sue them for like a crazy amount of money, that only like $100 a month or $1,200 a year, that's like that's what Phil considered to be the total damages of this copyright issue. And typically, at least in the United States, for most things like copyright that are relatively small potatoes kinds of crimes or lawsuit worthy types of wrongdoing, usually the statute of limitations is only like 5 years. So so Phil could only reasonably sue them for the past 5 years of copyright infringement. Anything beyond that is pretty much, it's already too late. And so again, just by this clip here, he's automatically kneecapping his ability to potentially sue them for damages down the road. Because $100 a month, that's what he said right there. It's only $1,200 a year, and then over a period of 5 years, which is the statute of limitations, that would be like the absolute maximum that Phil could get. Based on his own words here, would be $6,000 per detractor channel that's doing this. That's it, $6,000 for 5 years of quote unquote stealing his content. And again, I know this kind of lawsuit is never going to happen, but we're just thinking hypothetically here, and this just shows that Phil has no ability to do long term planning. And because again, if at some point down the road he wants to get dead serious, a clip like this is easily going to sink him. It's going to easily torpedo his chances of getting like a real sizable settlement out of it. Because most likely it would be settled, but it would be settled for peanuts compared to what Phil's probably expecting. All right, let's continue.
And they all pay me and I'm making a couple thousand a month doing it, then why would I care? Go for it. Right?
Yeah, as we already established, like the absolute maximum would probably be like $600 a month at best. Realistically, if he was dead serious, like I mean, he would not get this because first off, no detractors would pay him. But let's just say a miracle happens, and then he's able to magically, able to incite fear into the detractors. Then most likely, a lot of them would just leave. Would they most likely just give up on the whole, just straight up restreaming aspect of it, and then they would just focus on what they would focus on the stream chat element, on taking clips where Phil's arguing with the stream chat or misrepresenting what his viewers in the stream chat are saying, as well as the unrecorded segments. They would just shift more focus onto what Phil is actively trying to suppress from the get-go, which is the unrecorded segments or the parts that he hides from the parts of the streams that he records to YouTube, which is where he's slandering his viewers in the stream chat or just pretending that the criticism in the stream chat doesn't exist. That's what they would focus on, best case scenario. So Phil wouldn't get one thin dime off of this. And for the most part, the whole restreaming and stuff, that was a even though that was a relatively new phenomenon in recent years, it's like the trolling was still very, very powerful even before then. And so the trolling would continue on no matter what. So then, and this is what Phil's genius plan is. It's not about the money for him. It's about trying to It's about trying to silence some of his detractors, and it would not do that. And nobody would pay him. And the best case scenario, he might get like one guy to bend the knee to him. So at best, he'd get $100 a month off of this. And given how much he spends on DoorDash and gin and and how much money he donates to Scopely every week, that would be a drop in the ocean.
And you're only making a living because of me. So there you go.
Not only because of you. And again, it's not about you per se, Phil. What you're doing is you're pumping out nothing but lead in terms of content, which is exactly why people are watching the restreamers instead of you. Is like you're just pumping out nothing but shit. You're basically pumping out lead, and then the restreamers are turning your lead into gold, which is exactly why they watch you. And that's which is exactly why they watch the restreamers instead of you. And that comes to another potential issue we could get to if Phil wants to sue them, which we can get to later in the video.
But again, I haven't really worked it out yet because I'm in the early stages of everything. I announced yesterday that as of yesterday, I am officially have certain parties tracking all of the detractor content. They are now checking who's live restreaming, who's actually doing stuff after the fact transformatively, because that stuff's fine. I've never had a problem with someone making a transformative work of me. If it's defamatory,
Oh, bullshit. You were going after it from the get go, transformative stuff. And Phil's about to show the caveat here. And yeah, and it just shows that Phil has not changed one iota since 2013.
yeah, there's a problem there. But transformative versus actually live rebroadcasting.
What is defamatory about this is how you don't play, Phil? He'll never explain how it's defamation. He'll never explain it whatsoever. Yeah, he'll never explain how this is how you don't play MGS1, which is 3 hours, which is what, like 3 hours long or something like that? And his whole playthrough was 10 hours. So it took like 30% of his whole video content. And and most of that was just gameplay. And since MGS1 is so heavy when it comes to cutscenes, if you actually look at like the proportion, if you look at the representation of you in terms of gameplay, then it was a relatively good representative of how you played that game, which was as a complete man child, and you were constantly throwing around, racial and borderline sexist shit that people in the modern day would consider to be extremely offensive and very cringeworthy. And hell, even in 2013, a lot of the shit he was saying back then was pretty damn cringe. But I mean, he'll never explain how it's defamatory. He can never really, if you challenge him on this, he can never give you a good answer on this. how it's defamatory. But he always had a problem. There was not a single detractor. There's like almost no detractors of that make edited videos of him that he has not shit on.
Without permission, without giving the creator a chance to have their content digested and make money first, that's illegal. You have to give a chance for the original broadcast to go first before you can then try to rebroadcast. It's not legal to do that.
And Phil has no way of knowing whether or not this is true. Phil has done no research at all. And again, that's not how copyright infringement works. That's not at all how it works. It works on the question of whether or not the content is transformative, on whether or not the content takes a giant piece of the original work, and whether or not it has a significant impact on the market that the copyright owner is tapping into. And that's one area where there's a big source of contention over and when it comes to potentially suing for damages, because that's the big question mark that Phil or his legal team would have to make in court or to a judge or whatever. Is that the people who are watching the restreamers if would watch Darkside Phil if those restreamers didn't exist, and that's going to be a pretty tough case to make because because the people who tend to watch the restreamers, those are the ones who already know about Darkside Phil's bad reputation and therefore they don't like him. So you would have a hell of a time making the argument that it's having a negative impact on the market, which is a key element on whether or not it's fair use. And there's and as well as there's a couple other tests as well, but none of them involve the timing of it. Aside from a statute of limitations, that's the only area where when you engage in this alleged copyright infringement becomes a factor. Just straight up restreaming and stuff like that. That is so doing it while Phil is still streaming that content has nothing to do with whether or not the restreamers like Raw Phil, Dark Dave Mirror, whatever, is like the fact that they're having their live streams and restreaming while Phil is still streaming has nothing to do with the question of fair use.
You understand? So all of this is now being tracked day by day, hour by hour, and all this evidence will be used in the future. So there you have it.
But why don't you use it now, Phil? Why don't you find the people who are doing it and gather the evidence and then send it to YouTube? So you don't have to sue anybody. You can just issue takedown notices and boom, there you go. I mean, Wings of Redemption was doing this back in the day with a lot of his trolls, and he openly said it when he was talking to his former friend Woody from PKA, and that he was able to cut deals with them by saying, "Hey, if you give me a piece of the pie, I won't strike your channels."
Yeah, I heard you say that you were making money off the troll channels.
I am.
That's true?
That is true. Any troll channel you see with advertisement on it is paying me kickback.
So you claim those videos and then you get the money?
No. I have deals worked out with each one of them for different amounts.
Get out. You have deals worked out with them, so they pay you for content?
No, they pay me to not strike them.
Oh, that's kind of blackmail-y? I don't have another word for it, dude.
I mean, it's not blackmailing. It's like they're making money. You cut me a little piece of the money because you're using my content. Like all you're doing is re-editing my content. So like I have the power to like take your content down. But if you want to work out a deal where you pay me for like the rights to use my content.
Uh-huh.
It's like you could do that right now. You could have done this back in probably 2016, 2017. When you started seeing a growing amount of people who were having their own React parties and restreaming some of your content and things, you could have been doing this stuff back then, but you didn't do it. In fact, you were such a coward that you had to have your MCN, Machinima, do the dirty work for you and try to file strikes and stuff. And again, this all shows that these are just empty threats that mean nothing.
Do I really want to do business with these guys? Listen, Toe Tickler Timmy, it's this simple. You can't change people's behavior. But the thing is, instead of just saying, I'm staunchly against it, I don't want anyone to do it, they're going to do it anyway. So instead, make it so that at least if it's going to happen, that I benefit from it, right? I can't stop them from making the content, but I can actually tell them, hey, if you want to do it, you got to pay. Exactly. Princess Luna just said there's nothing wrong with getting paid for something they're doing anyway. Exactly right. Only now they would have protection that I would never go and try to get them for doing it later on in a court of law. You know? And I think that's only fair. You're already making so much off of me. You literally, this week when I was gone, was 100% legal evidence that without me, they have no content because they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing to do. They were bored and they had no income and no content coming in. So there you have it.
We'll just get right into his whole argument of how, oh well, they weren't restreaming me, therefore that proves they have no content. Well, then by that definition, Phil, if no new video games come out and you don't play anything because of the excuse that there's no new video games, does that mean that you have no content? As see, it works both ways, Phil. You could just as easily say that you playing video games proves that you have that for like a good like what 5 6 hours a day you have no content because you have to rely on video games in order to make videos. Just wanted to get that out of the way before we continue here.
No, I did not say that. I did not say $100 per stream. That's not what I said. Like I said, I haven't figured anything out yet. That's something that I would have to work on my end. What I would have to do is probably have like a site created where someone could go and have a web form filled in with their information, like their name, their YouTube channel or their Twitch channel, information like how much do you stream, Phil, blah, blah, blah. And then basically they would pay this licensing fee either once a month or an annual discount, like a yearly discount.
Actually, you wouldn't. You wouldn't actually have to go through all this. All you'd really need to do, especially if you're going to do it over the internet, all you really need to do is just get their digital signature on a contract. That's literally all you do. I think there's like websites that can do it. Like, I don't know if what is that one called? eforms.com and stuff like that. That might not be an exact fit for Phil's needs, but I mean, there are websites that will actually allow you to just, print up paperwork or whatever. And all you need to do is get it signed and I don't know, notarized possibly. I'm not sure if that's possible with a digital, with a virtual or digital contract. But yeah, that's basically all you need to do. Just get it signed and sealed, and boom, that's it. You're good to go. And obviously, make sure that you have the appropriate, like an exit clause, and just make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's, just to make sure you cover all your bases of like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? Just the usual stuff. But yeah, you feel you don't need to make you don't need to make a whole new website just to get people to agree to pay you money for permission to use all of your content, regardless of fair use. You don't need to do this. All you need is a contract. All you need to do is get their signature, like a digital signature will do you just fine. And there's plenty of online services that can help you do it. Again, this is just showing Phil just spewing nonsense like always, of like of the trying to like make the over exaggerate how professional he has to be with all this.
To do it for like a year. And then it gives them a contract that says, you are now, here you go. Here's your contract. You have now have the right to do this for this amount of time, and no one can go after you for it. Yes, but here's the funny part. Forsen says, to sue one of these guys, you're looking at $50,000 or more, and it's not worth it. Here's the thing, though, Forsen. There's a lot of them. If it was one person doing it, I would agree with you. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Going after one guy, small potatoes. There's a lot of these people doing it, making money. All of that money is mine. You understand that? It's literally all mine because it's all my content that's being stolen illegally. I have a legal right to all of that content. I do.
No, you don't. Because it is highly debatable. Because Phil, just like how you're in the realms of playing video games, these restreamers, those who try to they'll just put a stream chat and then maybe occasional commentary here and there. That's a gray area. Just like how it is still a gray area about you playing video games, especially when there's licensed music in them. That is still a gray area when it comes to the law. There's no definitive red line that says this is fair use and this is not fair use. That's to this day, it has not been established. So right there, you flat out you're in the wrong. Legally speaking, you're in the wrong to say that, oh, it's all your money or like it's all stealing from you. And also number two, you openly said, yeah, I agree. Oh, $50,000 to go after one guy, that's a lot. Oh, but there's a lot of them. Therefore, I would sue a whole bunch of them. But you don't get what he said, Phil. To sue one guy is $50,000. And then guess what? To sue two guys, sure, it might not be strictly another 50,000, but it might be another 20,000, maybe like 30,000, just to take care of all the extra paperwork and shit. So you're easily talking like if you wanted to sue all like 5 or 6 guys, you're talking over 100 grand you would have to shell out. And again, as you already said previously, and I'll make sure I slap this clip in for editing.
But if those people paid me a reasonable amount every month, I mean, if they're making thousands and thousands of dollars a month as they're claiming, okay, then they could probably shell over like, $100 a month.
And so right there, we established that the maximum you can get from any of these guys, based on your own words, and trust me, this would be dragged into court. This would be brought into evidence of how small your actual damages are. The maximum damages, according to you, and according to statute of limitations, would be only $6,000. That's it. That's all you could get. And the minimum it would cost you would be 10 grand. And again, that's assuming you win. That's assuming you go to court and you win. You get the maximum you could get is $6,000 based on your own claims of like, oh, $100 a month is reasonable to use my content without making it transformative. That's it. And like the minimum, if you get the cheapest, dirtiest, Better Call Saul type of lawyer, the cheapest you're going to get is like maybe 10 grand. Realistically, it's probably going to be a good like 20 or 30 per lawsuit. And again, Phil completely misses the whole point of what this guy just said. Of like, oh, well, there's a lot of them. Yeah, which means it's going to be pretty damn expensive. And all some money they allegedly are making, which again, because it hasn't gone to court yet, and again, because because fair use is still a gray area, you have to show it in court. And also, what Phil's not considering here is that is just a sheer mountain he would have to climb just to bring this lawsuit to the finish line, or just to the point to where he could get a sizable settlement. Is not just his what he said it was $6,000, not just his $1,200 a year claim of what he would consider to be a reasonable compensation, but also the fact that he would have to go, he would have to have him and his legal team would have to explain to a jury that knows nothing about live streams, that knows nothing about gaming. They would have to explain to them the ins and outs of copyright and how what they're doing is not transformative, but what Phil is doing is transformative. You would have to explain all this to a jury that knows nothing about this. How well do you think that's going to go? And heaven forbid, some of the evidence that comes in is of Phil saying some pretty unsavory things. How do you think that's going to go with a jury? Do you think a jury is going to side with Phil after some of the copyrighted stuff that's admitted into evidence might, if it's Phil saying some pretty bad shit or ranting and screaming like a lunatic? Do you think that's gonna get a jury to warm up to Phil and sympathize with him? Oh, fucking course not. They're gonna say, look, they're probably gonna say, look, I don't understand all this is mumbo jumbo about fair use and copyright, but this Phil guy looks like a bit of an asshole. So it looks like if he's getting injured in this case, he probably deserves it. So fuck him. That's probably how it would go. That's probably how. And oh god, can you imagine the deposition? And for those who are not aware, those who haven't watched any like law TV shows or whatever, a deposition is basically to where all the parties involved, the person making the lawsuit and the person receiving the lawsuit, as well as any and all witnesses, before it goes into the courtroom, they have a deposition to where they are questioned first. And the deposition into where they will question you about like almost every last detail about your claims, about what you saw, what you experienced regarding the lawsuit. And they dig deep into these things. And can you imagine Phil, who is a pathological liar? I mean, but his deposition would be a fucking disaster. And again, the deposition may or may not be admitted as evidence in the court, depending on the circumstances. But I mean, that alone would get his lawyers to say, no, we can't let him testify. And because if Phil takes the stand to try to explain to the jury his side of the story, he's bound to fuck it up, and he'll make his case even worse. That'll end the lawsuit right there if he has to if he has to take the stand and explain to the jury what's going on, to explain to them his side of the story. It's game over. That's it. That's it. It'll be dismissed.
So if you add it all together, it's big money. It's big money and big prizes, let me tell you. Because sometimes you can win a ruling, you can just do a settlement. I would assume if I were to ever take this seriously and take it to court, these people do not want to go all the way because I will own everything they've ever made. Every dollar they ever made restreaming my content, I will recoup. And then legal fees on top of that. They don't want that. So they're all going to settle. They're all going to hit me with nice, big, juicy settlements just to get this to stop so they don't have to bleed in court for years after years. They don't have a foot to stand on.
And again, this guy knows nothing about statute of limitations, which again, that automatically caps it to 5 years. So that's the maximum he could get. And that dramatically lowers the ability for them to actually make money. Because even if you set aside him saying $100 a month is fair compensation for stealing my content, even if you set that aside, what else could they go on to describe damages? You can't really say the only thing you could say, okay, possibly ad revenue from viewers, but first off, you would have to ask the question, you had to look at how much ad revenue does Phil actually make? Is he still making the $2 per thousand that he was back in the good old days of YouTube? Or is it $1 per thousand, or has it fallen even lower than that? And we honestly don't know. Is it realistically back in 2016, it was probably around $2 per thousand because he was making 2 million views a month. But nowadays, who knows? And of course the other question is, what about viewership? And Phil would have a tough time making the argument to a jury that could understand all of this copyright stuff and all that things. To a jury that could understand all of those things, he's going to have an even bigger mountain to climb to explain to them that all the people who watch the restreamers, who are already, by any reasonable standard, they watch detractor content, they know all the accusations made against Phil, and they obviously don't like him. So Phil had to make the argument that people who don't like him would watch his content if these restreamers didn't exist. Despite the fact that there are countless channels that make clips, that will do their own analysis of this, that will go into React content, or have their own watch parties. So he has to make the case that all those people who are watching restreamers, they wouldn't watch anything else. They would immediately go and watch Phil. Or at least like 10% of them would, which good luck making that argument. So he would have to try to make that case to them. And that is a very tough case to make.
No, I don't think that YouTube will demonetize any detractors on July 15th. All YouTube ever does is they have rules, and then they very, very selectively enforce the rules. If there's a big stink about something, sometimes they'll enforce the rules. Other times they'll completely ignore rules.
Again, he shows no evidence for this. He's just talking out of his ass like he usually does.
It's really stupid. All right? So what it is, they already have a policy. And that policy says you cannot upload what they consider to be spam content, regurgitated content.
Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh, that's hilarious right there. He's saying spam content. Dude, you literally spam your viewers' inbox with 7 videos a day. And you're also saying regurgitated? Dude, you basically say the exact same thing every single day on your podcast for like half an hour. It's a schedule. Trolls are mean to me. We got to hit our tips goal today. We got to get our members goal. Oh, it's like, I got to get money for my day off. That's literally like half of your podcast, if not your entire podcast, every single day. My schedule, here's the new games coming out. If that's not regurgitated, I don't know what is. And the whole spam content, this whole spamming thing, yeah, it's like you spam 7 videos a day, and most of it is just boring, just garbage. And ironically enough, that's what got him into trouble back in the day. Because remember back in the day, he would upload 20 videos a day. And then guess what happened? And guess what caused him to transition from 7 videos a day, from 20 to 7 videos a day? It was when YouTube flagged his channel for spam. And that meant that for a while he couldn't actually use his channel until he finally until he stopped spamming. So him talking about spam and regurgitation, yeah, Phil's the king of regurgitated bullshit and spam. All right, let's continue.
Non-original content. What does that mean? Literally copying someone else's content and re-uploading it to your channel, live restreaming someone else. It's already not allowed on YouTube.
Okay, Phil, show the terms of service where it says that when somebody's live streaming, you can't do a restream of them. And it's like, hey, he might be right, but again, he's not doing it. He's not showing it at all, which is absolutely hilarious.
The best part about it is these people still don't understand it. Like this person who says, begging for money while telling people to get a job is true art. What I do is called entertainment genius. I entertain an audience for free, but then I ask for compensation and I receive said compensation. It's work. And in fact, there is an art to it. There is. That's why not everyone can do it. Get it? That's why so many people try to do it and fail, because they don't have it. They don't have the charisma. They don't have the focus. They don't have the drive. They don't have the skill. They can't enunciate. They can't talk. They can't interact. They can't do it. If anyone could do it, why wouldn't everyone be doing it? Exactly. It's work. You need talent. You need skill. You need all those things to be successful, just like any other job. And the truth is, I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have a boss that yells at me and says, me, but I'm doing things wrong. I'm my own boss. So I'm a step above people who have to work the 9 to 5. And by the way, I am not crapping on people who have to work the 9 to 5. I was there for a very long time, right? I had a job since I was 15 years old. I wasn't even legally able to be employed, and I had a job where I was getting paid under the table to make my own money so that I could pay for things myself. And I had a job since I was 15 all the way until I was laid off from my job at the helicopter company in 2010. And then I started work for myself. I started my own company. And now here I am, 15 years later, successful.
I started my own company. Oh, gee, that's amazing. No, Phil. The folks who started YouTube made a company. You just signed you just agreed to be a partner with them. That's literally all you did. You didn't start a company. You didn't start a quote unquote business. You were already playing video games on YouTube, and then you just answered someone's email and said, okay, let's make some money together. That's literally all you did. That's all. Stop with the bullshit. You didn't start a company. You're not Elon Musk. You're not Jeff Bezos. You're not John D. Rockefeller. No. You just play video games and you just get paid for playing video games. That's literally all you're doing.
This is not begging. This is called self-employment, you incredible moron. I have my own company that's legally registered. I pay taxes. I do everything like anyone who has their own company.
Dude, you literally said that if you didn't beg people, you would not reach your financial goals every single day. You literally said that. You said that you did a quote-unquote social experiment, and that it proved that if you don't beg your viewers for money, that you won't get paid. You literally said that to us. All right, here's one clip literally from just 2 months ago. Yeah, you tell me if this sounds like a good, successful businessman who's doing well in his life.
Basically, people are all using their channel points to laugh at the fact that we got no support tonight. And that's it. So, not looking too good, guys. for blueprints. I love the game. I think it's super unique and I want to keep playing it, but I can't do it on streams where no one's going to show up or support. I just can't.
I love the fact that even his own chat, they're using their channel points to laugh at him over no support. I love it. Yeah, go ahead. Keep telling us how good you are, Phil. Keep telling us how great of a decision it was to do live streaming and just become an e-bagger. Yep. And now Phil might say, oh, come on, that was 2 months ago. I've changed since then. Oh, that was just one isolated incident. What about this one from 2 weeks ago at the beginning of July when he's talking about the Death Stranding playthrough?
We kind of know what to expect moving forward. So that being said, today is make or break day for Death Stranding. If today people show up, engage, and support this stream, and we hit goals and everything's good, I will continue to keep Death Stranding 2 in the rotation, and we will play it as a full playthrough. However, if it tanks and people stop showing up and aren't engaging and are just complaining the game is boring, play anything else, and there's no support, then I'm not going to continue to play Death Stranding. And I said this up front when I started last week with the game. I said, I know what this is. And by the way, when I played the first game in 2019, this was the case where I kept playing it despite the fact that my audience was complaining constantly that it was boring. They didn't want to see it. I toughed through it and beat it. And the whole second half of the playthrough was basically not very successful at all. I had incredibly slow streams. I wasn't making a lot, and I was complaining about it. And I mean, whose fault is that? Well, Kojima didn't design the game for streamers. He was going for something different. I don't think I can really blame Kojima. The viewers were just being honest with me, saying this game is boring as dirt. I don't think I can blame the viewers. Honestly, the blame lies solely on my shoulders. I was the stubborn, obstinate guy that said, I'm going to keep playing this game, despite the fact that you guys are telling me not to play it.
And also, one thing he's also ignoring when it comes to it's his own fault. Now, granted, Death Stranding is not exactly a very stream-friendly game as far as the gameplay itself, because it is just a glorified walking and driving simulator. You're basically just playing Amazon driver. You're basically just the Amazon delivery driver. That's essentially what you're doing throughout the game. But what is Phil's fault is not compensating for that with good commentary, with talking. I mean, and again, this is Phil's problem. This is what we have been telling you for the past, 4 or 5 years when it comes to when you started doing your pre-streams longer and longer and longer. And again, this was a problem that was going on since 2016. Because initially he would do a quick little pre-stream of 10 to 15 minutes, then boom, straight into gameplay. That's how it was back in 2015, 2016. But then around 2016, 2017, it going from 10 or 15 minutes to 25 minutes, half an hour, even it was 45 minutes. Eventually the pre-streams became an hour long. And then people were saying, Phil, just stop with the pre-streams. We just want to see you play the damn game already. But he was like, no, this is what the pre-stream's for. To let me get all my stuff out so that way I can focus on the game.
Shout out to Patrick Starr, who's now banned from the stream chat, who's whining like a bitch. Play the game, play the game. This is the shout-out segment, which I do every stream. It would not be right for me to skip shout-outs to start playing the game because you're being a whiny bitch in the stream chat, so enjoy your ban.
But then shit like this happens. To where now he has basically nothing to talk about during the gameplay. When he could have taken all that hour long, they start with the pre-stream and then eventually turn into the stupid podcast. And he could have used that and slowly spread it throughout Death Stranding. And he could have done that little by little, slowly scattering it throughout, especially for a game like Death Stranding or other games like Grand Theft Auto, to where there's a lot of times where you're just driving from point A to point B and having a lot of stuff to talk about. Whether it's talking about, some childhood stories, talking about some old games, talking about some of your old war stories during the Street Fighter days, that is the perfect time to bring up those things. When it's basically a game like Death Stranding, to where it's just nothing but just driving around and walking everywhere. And except for the occasional sneaking portions or combat when you're dealing with the enemies. That's about it. And that's exactly why level 1 the idea of talking nonstop for an hour before you start gameplay is just a terrible idea from a content creation standpoint. Because during most games, whether it's Call of Duty, or like a Metal Gear game, or like racing, and not so much Mario Kart, but racing games in general, there is usually enough excitement in the gameplay itself to compensate if you don't have much to talk about. But when you're talking about a game like Death Stranding, or heaven forbid you're playing Metal Gear Survive because you're a masochist, or if you're doing one of the more boring driving segments from point A to point B in like a Grand Theft Auto game, then you have to fill in the emptiness with your commentary. You have to fill in with stories, or like talking to your audience. Hey, what do you like to do? Or like, hey, hey, what's your favorite foods? That's where you, as the content creator, have to fill in the gap in order to keep in order to keep the entertainment, in order to keep it lively and entertaining for the audience, that way they stay engaged. So that is what Phil will never mention here. Is that when when the gameplay is boring, it's your job to fill in the gap with entertainment. Or at the very least, just play some like music or whatever, or just like say, you know what, this segment's kind of boring. So how about this? How about I'll slap on a video so you guys can watch it. Here's a funny video from like 2012 or whatever. So you can watch me fail miserably at a game and start raging like crazy while I'm doing this boring segment that nobody really cares about. Like literally any of those ideas would be 1,000 times better than just sitting there in dead air constantly, maybe answering one question every 10 fucking minutes, and then just going through a boring ass segment of the game. So that is 100%. So it's not just Phil's fault the way he says, which is partially true. If your audience saying, look, we don't like this, we need something to change. Yeah, him being a stubborn mule, which he usually is, yeah, that is a problem. But the bigger issue is that when the gameplay is boring, he's not compensating for that by trying to make it entertaining for his audience or make it engaging in some way, shape, or form. That's the bigger issue that Phil will never address, and that has been dragging down the quality of his live streams for the past like a good 9 or 10 years now. And okay, so with that out of the way, let's continue.
And I'm changing now. I'm changing for the better.
Oh, fuck me, here we go again. I literally explained this whole thing just now. How this has been a problem that has been plaguing you for the past 10 years. And if anything, it's only gotten worse. Because now you're trying to use the fact that you've turned this whole 1 hour whining and bitching and moaning segment, or just this, or if you want to be generous to Phil, it's a 1 hour monologue. You use that, you've turned into a podcast as an excuse for avoiding the core issue, which is that people just want to see you play the game already. People are also interested into your day-to-day routines, into your daily life, but having that as filling in the gaps of your boring ass gameplay is much better than separating the two. Because then your gameplay, especially for games like Death Stranding, or games that have driving, as I've already mentioned, games like Grand Theft Auto, where you have a lot of boring driving segments, that just kills the momentum, any momentum you have as far as your live streams. So filling in the gap is a much better way to go. And that used to be how Phil did it before he did live streaming, when he was just recording on his TV. At most, he would spend 10 minutes on a monologue, then he'd go straight into gameplay. And that was actually a better way of doing commentary and stuff, because then he would have plenty of things to talk about during the gameplay. Now, granted, his commentary was still pretty cringeworthy and shit, but at the very least, there was something there. It wasn't just constant dead air and just going every like 10 minutes to try to fill in the gaps. And that was such a better way. And again, him saying he's changed, I've talked about this 500 times. He has not changed one bit. If anything, he's actually gotten worse over time. You've seen a decline in the quality of his commentary, in the entertainment value, and in terms of the amount of work ethic he's willing to put in. Because at the very least, you could say, back in like 2013 or so, he was at least willing to put in some effort to make edited videos. You can just look at his 2013 Christmas special, and as shit as it was, he was at least willing to try. He was at least trying to put in a minimum effort to make montages on his KO Gaming channel. Back in the day, they were called the Hits of the Week. At least that's showing he was trying to do something. Now, granted, it was bare minimum effort, and he didn't put in nearly as much work as he should have. But at least back then, he was at least willing to put in a tiny crumb of effort. Now even that's too much for him. And he's not even willing to put in the work to try to encourage his fans to make content for him, like he did with the KO community creations. I mean, as shit as that was, at least I was showing Phil attempting something. It was a pathetic attempt, and it was showing he was a lazy bastard who really can't change, but at least it showed at least a tiny bit of effort. And I mean, this shows clear it's just decline. Now, purely from a cosmetic standpoint, from a surface level, so purely from a aesthetic standpoint, yeah, his setup and everything back, yeah, that looks better than it did 10 years ago. But it's still that doesn't change the root of the problem. And this has been Phil. This has been another challenge that Phil has had his whole life, is that he looks for surface level solutions instead of trying to solve the deeply rooted problem, which is that he was lazy, is that he would rather waste his money on garbage that won't improve his content or improve his commentary or anything, rather than instead of just trying to improve for the better in a truly substantial way. He always wants to go for get rich quick schemes, go for the short term gain, look for these quick little gimmicks, instead of looking for things that will build the long term value of his channel and of his reputation. And that's why his channel collapsed. That's why now his DSP gaming channel on YouTube struggles to get like 500,000 views. When 10 years ago, he was easily getting a good 2.5 to 3 million views regularly. And why in 2013, despite the sharp decline in 2011, 2012, he was still getting a regular 5 million views a month. And now he's not even getting like a tenth of that. And just shows, again, the whole I've changed thing is complete bullshit. The only way it's true is that he's changed for the worse. Because back then he used to have energy, enthusiasm, and he used to joke a lot. Granted, his jokes were mostly cringe and just make your face palm, but at least there was something there. Now he most of the times looks like he's either acting like an angry substitute teacher who's gonna give you detention if you say the word damn, or he looks like a brain dead zombie, or he's just bitching and moaning about his finances and the trolls. And again, I'm not the only one who's noticed this. Everybody on planet Earth who's seen him for over the past decade knows that this is true.
I'm listening to feedback. I'm
I'm sorry I paused it right away, but I'm listening to feedback. You basically ban everybody who criticizes you, just like you were in 2013. You literally banned the word horse from your stream chat. Just because 2018 Cat, when you first met her face, I mean, she was decent looking, but her face left a lot to be desired. It was mostly because of the bad lighting shown in the photo, but still. That shows just how sensitive you are to criticism. That you can't take people just, busting your chops every once in a while.
It is not on fucking easy, and if you say it one more fucking time and you lie to my audience, you will be permanently banned from the chat. The game is not on easy, you stupid piece of shit dunce who wants to discredit anyone who plays the game on normal. It's on normal. Deal with it. If you don't like it, fuck off and don't come back. I'm never gonna put up with that ever again. Every person who says it's on easy is just gone for good. I'm tired of it. It's so disrespectful to say shit like that. It really is.
going to only play stuff you guys want. So I got to listen. There will be exceptions every once in a while. Like I said, if there's something that's like a really big favorite of mine or a retro game from the past or something that I want to bring back or revive or, we'll do that. But for the most part, if I want to stay successful, I have to listen to you. All right. And I get that. Now it took me a long time. My big stubborn head, hard as a fucking rock. Okay. I had to learn that the hard way. But now I've learned. And now look at what we're doing. I mean, seriously.
Oh, I can't wait for this one. What is he doing now that's different from the past? Is he going back to editing videos? At the very least, trimming out the fat from all the garbage content? Is he going to try to either shorten or get rid of the podcast entirely? So that way he can then use that content to fill in the gaps of boring gameplay segments to keep his viewers engaged in the live streams and make it more likely they'll donate? Is he going to try to start doing more collaboration with other people? Maybe try to get some of his own fans to come in and just have a Discord call and just chat with them? What is he going to do? How is he different now than he was 10 years ago? I can't wait to hear this one.
Now we've got awesome streams all the time, fun playthroughs, chill vibes, great atmosphere, fun marathons all the time, new equipment being added all the time. This is awesome, right? And thank you for that we're to this level. But you have to understand, I have to stick to my guns of how we're doing things around here for this to continue. If I say, well, no one's going to show up for Death Stranding 2, but I'm playing it for another 40 hours anyway, I might as well just quit. I might as well just quit and just go play it myself and not stream.
But Phil, the problem is that's also been an issue you've had before, to where you have done what was back in 2015 called view quitting, and then eventually became wage quitting. So in that regard, you really haven't changed a whole lot. And his whole idea of like, oh, I'm constantly adding new things, but again, that doesn't solve the core issue, which is that plenty of other streamers, I guarantee you, when Death Stranding first came out, there were plenty of other streamers who were getting tons of viewership, getting tons of engagement, and you weren't. So why is that? It clearly can't be the game. It clearly can't be the platform, because you were on Twitch back then, just like all the other big streamers who were streaming Death Stranding. So it clearly couldn't have been the technology. Because I mean, you could run that game pretty much on anything. Hell, even on my $600 laptop here, you could easily run it. Or hell, even on my like $400 piece of shit desktop that I had, that had like 2013 technology in it, it could easily run that game. So it clearly wasn't the technology, wasn't the game, it wasn't the platform. So what's left? The only thing left to blame is you. And it's the exact same thing with all the other big games that you've been trying to play. There are dozens of other content creators out there, if not hundreds, who are getting more live viewers and getting more support from super chats, donations, etc. on their streams. The only thing left to blame is you. And clearly, you're not entertaining enough. And this show, and Phil's never going to change in this regard. Because it's too painful for him to admit that he will need to change the way he does commentary.
What's the point? I'm wasting your time if you don't want to see it, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe today people will show up and engage and support with Death Stranding 2. And if you do, then I know what you want. So there you have it. It's very easy to show what you want to see me play. Show up to the streams, engage with the content, and support it. And by the way, I will say this as well. I realize that I have a silent majority of viewers who are behind the scenes, who don't speak up in chat, and also who maybe watch on demand. I know this, okay? If you're one of those people, you can still make your voice heard. You can engage with the content by liking the videos, by leaving comments with feedback, by actually supporting via things like super thanks if you can, because I'm well aware with Death Stranding 2, the entire playthrough is getting claimed for music. So you could still do like a tip, something like that. Say, hey, just so you know, I'm here for Death Stranding.
Okay, no, I don't know the specifics of like the settings and stuff, but I'm pretty sure you could. I'm pretty sure you could mute the music. In fact, that's one thing I could actually. Yeah, we can actually look it up right now. Yeah, we can actually look it up. Oh, hold on a second here. Let's go to the screen for now while I try to look this up. Okay, good. I'm not logged into this one, so I'm not going to dox myself or anything. Let's see, can you mute it in the settings? Let's take a look at this. Let's see what Copilot says. Okay, direct option. Okay, you do have audio settings, master volume, sound optimization, sound control settings. There's no, okay, fair enough. You can adjust audio settings. The ring menu of the menu, master volume, sound output. Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough to fill. But what you could do, if you really wanted to monetize it, you could just mute the audio entirely and then just play your own background music. That's one thing you could always do. And there's plenty of gameplay music that you can use that's not going to get flagged. And trust me, I've done it like 1,000 times. Yeah, I mean the classic games like Ratchet and Clank or like MGS2 or like the one I was using for my Tech Veils video. That's the music from the old Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun game. So you could easily just play some of the music, and so you can easily just play that music and just have it going, and then you're good to go. And guess what? It doesn't take a master to like put this stuff together. It's like you can just take like 2 or 3 soundtracks and just basically put them into like media player, and then just have them going, and you're pretty much all set. No worries. So this is a lame ass excuse when it comes to this. Oh my god, I can't monetize this anymore. It's like yeah, total nonsense. He could take care of this if he really wanted to, and there's no issue whatsoever. All right, let's mute that. I made my point. And like Ratchet and Clank music, there's a million different games that you can just basically take their soundtrack, and you're pretty much all set. No worries, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the whole idea of like the only way you can support me is by giving me money. That's what it always circles back to with him. Just give me money.
Ending 2, I'm loving the playthrough. Here you go. Here's a tip. That counts. All right? So there you go. So let's see what you guys want. All right? You have to understand my model of success is based on crowdfunding and will be moving forward. I can't get the level of support I used to get via views and stuff because everyone steals my content. It's just that simple. With so many people illegally stealing my content on a daily basis, I can't make a living off of ad revenue and views. That's why I don't care about it. What I care about is people who actually support concretely through crowdfunding to.
Well then, okay, Phil, then just as I already mentioned at the start of this video, why don't you file copyright claims against them? I mean, you yourself have said you don't flag anybody unless it's a straight re-upload. Well, if it's a straight re-upload, if you think that what Raw, Phil, and Dark Days Mirror and all those other guys are doing, if you think it's that wrong, then file copyright claims against them. And then if you're right, then they'll get a takedown notice. And if they keep doing it, and if you see multiple instances, then just flag 3 of them. Because 3 strikes is all you need to do to take them down. And it only takes a matter of minutes to file a good 2 or 3 strikes, to file 2 or 3 copyright claims. And if you're 100% in the right, and then guess what? Those claims will go through and the channels get shut down. And granted, they will pop up again, but at least temporarily, you will take care of the issue, and you'll disrupt their ability to sustain a large, consistent audience. Because by taking down that channel, then everybody will have to be drawn to the new channel. And there's also the possibility that you can actually get them flagged for ban evasion. If they do get taken down, then they try to pop back up. That's another thing you can contact YouTube about it behind the scenes to see whether or not you can get them, I don't know, IP banned or get them flagged for ban evasion. And then try to get a more secure solution to the problem. If you genuinely believe it's a problem. But again, one of the issues is that you police your stream chat so fanatically that it actually allows those other channels like Dark Days Mirror to thrive. And also the fact that your commentary is so boring that them throwing in their own little bits and pieces over there makes their stream of you more entertaining than your own stream itself. And again, it's like you can easily get ad revenue without compromising the quality of the gameplay. Even if, in a case of like Death Stranding, you'd have to mute the volume of the audio of the game entirely. You can still just put in music, and so you can have the good sound. You can have some nice sound and music that the audience can enjoy without losing ad revenue. Plain and simple. And there you go. You can get some ad revenue that can help you, make some money. And not caring all about ad revenue, that's just not a good plan. And even though I found no evidence of this, I would not be surprised at all that if a channel gets consistently flagged and therefore gets ad revenue taken away, I would not be surprised at all if that actually hurts the YouTube channel and the algorithm. I found no evidence of this, but it would not surprise me at all that if they see a channel is getting consistently flagged and therefore losing some of their ad revenue, that they would definitely think, okay, we're gonna knock them down and we're gonna give them lower priority in the YouTube search results and in recommendations. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that's the case. Well, anyway, now I've gone on for almost 20 minutes now with this little tangent, so let's carry on. Okay, guys, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Phil is very, very delusional if he thinks that a lawsuit is going to go pretty much anywhere. And his whole idea of like, oh, if I sue everybody, I'm going to make big bucks, that's laughable with statute of limitations, as well as how difficult it's going to be to prove any really substantial damages. And just try to prove that those who watched Dark Days Mirror would automatically go and watch him. That would be really tough to prove. And not to mention the fact that Phil is not really good at keeping his story straight. So if he ends up being dragged into a deposition, which is a key part of court cases, and if he has to explain himself in a deposition, that would be a disaster. That would really damage his case. And the fact that many people like King Jed, they don't even live in the United States, so good luck suing them. It's like the whole thing's nonsense. And him saying he's going to get rich and that his whole idea of like doing a licensing fee is like it's never going to happen. And all this is going to do is just make him look even worse. All it's going to do from a perception standpoint, from the standpoint of how Phil looks to the outside world, it's just going to make him look like he's trying to censor his critics. And especially since he once again throws in the whole idea of like, oh, if you make a montage of me, that's defamation because you're not accurately representing me. It's like, again, that's been litigated 5 million times and showing that 99% of the montages about Phil are pretty much spot on. They hit the nail on the head as far as the problems and character flaws that Phil has. And his whole ridiculous delusional tirade that he's better than the average guy because he doesn't have to be accountable to anyone. He can do whatever he wants with impunity, and that he's a quote unquote successful businessman and everything. It's all nonsense. Hey guys, if you want to see another awesome video, click on the left. If you want to learn some awesome lore while enjoying this nice piece of artwork behind you, click the link on the right. And as always, remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll see you next time.